Now, I'm sure most Liverpool fans still aren't over that really disappointing 2-2 draw with Manchester United at the weekend. But for Jurgen Klopp and his players, they've got to quickly refocus on Thursday evening's game, which is a Europa League quarter-final tie against Atalanta at Anfield. Now, it's often been said, hasn't it, that one of the advantages Liverpool have in the Premier League title race is the fact that they are in the Europa League rather than the Champions League. And you'd have to say that facing Atalanta should, in theory, be a little bit easier than facing either Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. And I'd also say that because the game should be less intense, there's also opportunities, I think, in this competition for Jurgen Klopp to shuffle his pack a little bit more and keep his Premier League team as fresh as possible, because they possibly are going to have to win all 7 games to give themselves a chance of going on to lift the trophy. Now, I've had a go at selecting my 11 for Thursday evening. As I say, there's a little bit of rotation in there. Maybe Jurgen Klopp will probably disagree. He always likes to go as strong as possible, doesn't he, and think about the next game after that. But I've selected 11 I think should line up at Anfield. I'm going to let you in on who I've gone with. Let me know, as ever, in the comments what you think about it. Now, I'll start in goal, and I still think this is an obvious pick. Now, Liverpool have had a bit of a boost today with the news that Alisson Becker is back in full training. Didn't expect him to be involved in full training quite as early as that. But given the length of time he's been out since February, I still think this is a game where you go with Quaveen Kelleher. He's in form, he's sharp, he's ready. You know, if you can get Alisson Becker ready to come in against Crystal Palace at the weekend, that would be a huge boost. But I think Kelleher, he hasn't let Liverpool down, has he, up to this point? And I think, should absolutely keep his place for this one. No need to rush Alisson Becker back before Thursday, I would say, and as I say, just try and get him ready for the weekend if possible. Now, going to move into the defence now, and again, a further boost at right back for Liverpool with Trent Alexander-Arnold also involved in full training. But again, don't think he's going to be ready to start games yet. If you can use him off the bench, fantastic. We'll just have to see where he's up to, because again, he's been out for a while with that knee issue, but don't think he's an option for starting, certainly. And I think there's an opportunity still for rotation at right back, despite Alexander-Arnold not being available to start, and that is because Joe Gomez didn't start at Old Trafford, did he? So I think he should be available to come in here, give you fresh legs. That's something Jurgen Klopp always talks about, isn't it? The importance of putting as good a team as possible in terms of that freshness onto the pitch. And I mean, Conor Bradley's done really well recently, but if you've got Joe Gomez there as a rotational option, why not absolutely take it? So I would like to see him come in there. I mean, he hasn't let Liverpool down in any of the multiple positions he's played this season. I have no problems whatsoever about putting him in at right back and expecting him to do a good job. And similarly on the left-hand side of defence as well, I think there's still an opportunity for rotation there. Now, we've seen Joe Gomez has started a few games there, haven't we? And Andy Robertson's back fit now, but still, I think there should still be a change there, because it's the Europa League and you do have those squad options available. Why not use them? And for me, it should be Kostas Tsimikas starting at left back for this one. He hasn't started for quite a while, actually. His last start came in February in the FA Cup against Southampton, and the last one before that was against Arsenal in December when he picked up that collarbone injury. But I think, Robertson has missed a lot of football this season, hasn't he, because of the injuries he's picked up on international duty, and you want to keep him fresh. Don't want to put too many minutes into his legs, and that intensity he's maybe not used to because he's missed large chunks of the season. So I would say, why not? If you've got Kostas Tsimikas there, he's a great backup left back. He could definitely come into an Anfield game against Atalanta and play well enough to and be part of that side that wins, I would expect. So I would absolutely prioritise keeping your full back options as fresh as possible and making use of the fact you've got a great backup option there in Kostas Tsimikas. So he is my pick at left back. Now, moving into the centre halves, I'll go and start with the maybe the more obvious pick of the two, and that is probably Virgil van Dijk. Now, I mean, I would love to give him a rest at some point. He gets to an awful lot of football, doesn't he? But he is extremely robust and good at playing these back-to-back games. I think he's a centre half as well who can, because of the way Liverpool dominate games, you can occasionally cruise through them, and especially with having goalkeepers in Alisson and Kelleher who will sweep up behind him. That gives you an opportunity to not have to do too much running back or turning around. And if Liverpool do dominate the game and dominate possession, maybe less intense than a game where he's got an awful lot of defending to do. So no problems with putting Van Dijk in there, and hopefully he can cruise through a straightforward win for Liverpool. And alongside him, it was obviously Jarell Quansah, wasn't it, who got the nod at Old Trafford. And I said in my post-match review that I thought it was kind of a controversial pick, really. Obviously, if Konaté's fit enough to be on the bench, it's a bit of a surprise if he wasn't then fit enough to start as well. So I would have kind of liked to see him in at Old Trafford, and that's nothing against Quansah. He's done a great job this season, but I still think Konaté is Liverpool's second best centre half and should be starting games and given that status. So I would like to see him come in for this one and get some rhythm up, because he's been in and out of the team since the international break, and obviously beforehand he had that slight injury. But I'd like to see him start this one, get a bit of rhythm up, and then also start the Palace game that follows it. And I think, there's question marks over his fitness record, isn't there? But he should absolutely be able to start 2 games in a week. That'd be a real concern if he wasn't able to do that. So would really like to see Konate come in for this one. Now, I'm going to move into midfield now and start with the holding midfield role. And I've spoken a lot about rotation already, but I think there's an opportunity to just go with Wataru Endo again in this one. I mean, he already missed the Sheffield United game, didn't he, a week ago through a slight knock picked up against Brighton. So not got an awful lot of minutes in his legs at the moment, and he absolutely should be able to start this one and then play at the weekend as well. And if the manager's worried about anything in terms of him picking up an injury, then he could do 60 minutes here. And if Liverpool have got themselves in a decent spot, then you've got so many options in midfield now that everyone's coming back to fitness that you should have no worries about Endo being brought off in 60 and putting someone else in that role. Now, ahead of him, I've gone for a few more changes in those sort of advanced 8 roles that Liverpool play with, and I'll start with the left-hand side, where obviously we've seen a lot of Alexis McAllister there recently, but would love to take the opportunities to give him a rest whenever they are there. And again, I don't probably think that Jurgen Klopp will agree with this pick. I think he'll just go with his strongest team, but for me, Curtis Jones needs minutes at the moment, and so I would love to see him start in this one. I think he's come back from an injury, hasn't he? And I thought he looked good against Sheffield United when he came on, but maybe not as good against Manchester United at Old Trafford. He got caught on the ball a couple of times, which I think again it shows the sharpness, the match sharpness is not quite there for him yet. And the best way to get that is to play minutes, and so would absolutely love to get a start here. I think he's going to be crucial between now and the end of the season. He was such an important player, one of the first names on the team sheet in the start of the season when Liverpool were very good. And I think the fact that Szoboszlai's form's been a little bit up and down at times means there's still competition for places. There's still opportunities for someone to come in and nick a spot in that midfield. And I think getting Curtis Jones up to full fitness and putting him in that competition with Szoboszlai is really important. So would really love to see him pick up some minutes and pick up some sharpness here, because I think he's got a big role to play between now and the end of the season. And similarly, I'm going to make a change on that right-hand side as well. Szoboszlai, as I said, his form's been a little bit up and down, but it's not a case of dropping him. It's just trying to keep all the midfield options as sharp and as in form as possible. And for that reason, I've gone with Harvey Elliott in this position. Another reason I'd love to see him start as well is simply because I believe he deserves it. I mean, his form off the bench recently has been phenomenal. Particularly at Old Trafford when he came in, I thought he did a great job there and kind of ran the show really when he came on. He was the only one who seemed to fully understand how to pick United apart and pull people out of position. He's such a young player, but the head on his shoulders is much older than that. He's a really, really clever player. And again, like I say, I think his performances off the bench have merited him getting starts. So really would love to see him rewarded with a start in this one in central midfield. Now, going to move forward into the forward line now, and I'll start on the right hand side where Mohamed Salah usually is, and I am going to go with Mohamed Salah in that position now. He scored 4 goals since he's come back from his injury, which is a pretty decent rate all said, but I still think his form's been a little bit patchy. He's looked like he's lacked a little bit of sharpness, and some of his touches have gone awry, his passes have been overhit or underhit. He's not quite hit that form that he was showing at the start of the season, when for me he was the best player in the Premier League, hands down. He was leading the assists, leading the goals, just doing absolutely everything for Liverpool. So I think Liverpool need to get him back to that in games like this where they're going to be dominant, they're going to have chances, maybe a good opportunity to do that, to get him on the ball a lot. I do wonder whether the fact he's been fasting recently has kind of affected his performances. I know, that he's done really well in the past with dealing with that, but you do imagine that it'd be quite difficult for an athlete to do that during this period. So maybe he's due a sort of an upturn in form, and I think playing him in situations like this are good chances to get him back there and absolutely back to his best. And if Liverpool can do that, then it gives them every chance, doesn't it, of going on to lift more trophies over the remainder of this season, because he's an absolutely magnificent footballer, isn't he? So they need to get him back to his best. Now, moving into the centre forward role, I've made a change in this position as well. Obviously Darwin Núñez has had the shirt recently, and I didn't think he had a fantastic game at Old Trafford, truth be told, but it's not a case of dropping him from this role. I just think that Liverpool need to give Cody Gakpo some minutes if they can. He hasn't started since the Sparta Prague game on March the 14th, so that's a while ago now, and I think yes, Liverpool are getting options back in the forward positions, but I think, if you can keep Gakpo sharp, he's got an important role to play. He can play on the right, the left, centre forward. And if you can get him amongst the goals and get some confidence back into him, because I know he's had a lot of criticism recently for his performances, but I just think he has to be important to this team between now and the end of the season. So every time you get an opportunity to start him in a so-called lesser game, I would absolutely take it. I've got no qualms about starting him up front in that centre-forward role, which I think is his best position and the one where he can be most effective with his hold-up play and his ability to link up and also his pressing as well. He's really intelligent in that. So would love to see him given an opportunity in this one. Now, going to move to the left-hand side now, and I was looking at Luis Diaz, and it felt like he got through a lot of football recently, and I actually looked at his record, and he definitely has. He started all but 3 of Liverpool's last 21 games, and he's a player who absolutely works his socks off, so I would quite like to protect him really. He's got another one who's massively important. You don't want to run him into the ground and see his performances dip between now and the end of the season, so thinking about rotating him out, and I think that's important. Now, another boost for Liverpool is that Diogo Jota is back fit, he's back in full training, but again, what kind of role can he play in this game? We'll have to see. Will he even be involved at all? He's been out since February, maybe the weekend is more realistic. We will have to see, but don't expect him to be available to start. For that reason, I've gone with Darwin Núñez in this role. Now again, played a lot of football recently, but not quite as much as Diaz in terms of he missed a little bit because of the injury he had recently, so should still have that freshness, and I do kind of like him in that left-hand sided role from time to time. Obviously I prefer him as a centre forward, I'd say, but I think it works well when you've got Gakpo as the centre forward and he can drop deep almost in a Firmino type role, and then Núñez and Salah run inside, very much taking on the Mane, and obviously Salah taking on the Salah role in that famous front three, and I think Núñez really works in that position. And again, didn't think he played fantastically well at Old Trafford, but I think, if you can get that quickly behind him, pick up another goal, maybe get him in the chances, get some good play into his boots and make him feel good about himself again, then you can quickly put that behind him. And again, I think this is a game where Liverpool will expect to maybe dominate possession and make chances, because Atalanta haven't been great on the road this season. So I think a good opportunity to get both Gakpo and Núñez in the side, if you configure it in that way, is Gakpo in the centre forward and maybe Núñez on the left hand side. That's certainly a lineup I kind of like, but maybe Jurgen Klopp is going to disagree with me. We'll have to see how he goes with this. As per usual, let me know what you think of my starting 11. Have I got this one completely wrong? Are you going to go with different things? Do you think there should be less rotation or maybe more rotation for this one? Always interested to hear your thoughts, and not long to find out how wrong or how right I've got this starting lineup, because obviously it's a press conference on Wednesday and I'll be there at Anfield to cover it and provide you with updates from that, and then I will be at the game on Thursday at Anfield and providing my usual post-match review. So loads of content to come around this match, and I'll see you very soon.